You're listening to Lead, Sell, Grow the Human Experience podcast. I am your host, Eric Konovalov, and I believe that we can achieve everything we want if we take our leadership, sales ability, and personal growth to a higher level. On this show, we share ideas on how to break through our invisible boundaries, start taking steps towards our dreams, and create the life we desire. I invite you to open your mind to new possibilities, new ideas, and to the truth that everything you want is possible for you. Thank you for being here and welcome to the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Lead, Sell, Grow the Human Experience podcast. I hope you're having a great day. If you have not done so yet, get over to our Facebook group, not necessarily page. We have a page, we have a group. The group is Lead, Sell, Grow the Human Experience Mastermind. Join us. I want to hear your thoughts on these episodes. I want to hear your thoughts on some future episodes that we can do, some great ideas, because I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for you. And I'd like to know what you think matters. Today, I have a really, really special guest. He's a good friend of mine. His name is David McGlennen. He is a business growth guide who helps leaders build companies that people line up to work with. He is an entrepreneur and a family business owner for most of his life. He's learned that growing a company means growing and leading yourself first. And as we dive in, you're going to see how he does that. And boy, he's been married for 33 years. He's a father of 5 children. The guy looks like he's 22 years old. and unfortunately, he lives in the Pittsburgh region. Me and as a Baltimore Ravens fan, I have to kind of put my own ego aside and welcome somebody from Pittsburgh. Here's one really cool thing. David has coached and trained leaders all around the world and as far north as the Arctic Circle. He's also shared the stage. I mean, if you're in a leadership space, you know who John Maxwell is. He had a chance to go to Paraguay, South America with John Maxwell and share the stage with him as they trained leaders and helped them develop that whole government down there. David, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Eric, it's great to be here. And, bringing a little bit of the Steelers vibe for you, just to make, things interesting.
All right. Let me know if you're ready to renounce that. Here on the show in front of everyone. Are you ready to renounce your Steeler belief? I'm kidding, of course. So, all right. There's so much to unpack about you. You've been an entrepreneur most of your life. You have 5 kids. Take me back. Where did your entrepreneurship journey start?
Well, it actually started in a small little practice room in the middle of Indiana. And so let me unpack this. So when I first went to college, I declared myself as a music major. So I had never taken any music theory. And my first music theory class was in college. I didn't realize I was going to have to learn how to play the piano. I didn't know how to play the piano. So I had to force myself to learn how to play the piano and play these chord progressions and learn all of this music theory stuff. And I decided right then and there, I am not a music major. And so I after that first semester of college, I declared myself as a business major, and then from there it kind of just took off. I have to say though that my heritage, I come from a line of entrepreneurs. My grandfather was a business owner. He owned a grocery store and a bakery, and then an insurance agency. And then I followed my grandfather and my father's footsteps into the insurance industry, and spent 32 years in the industry. So it literally started back then when I started playing the piano and got so frustrated, like I'm not a musician. So that's the true story.
So you started out in the insurance industry.
I did.
For what company?
Multiple companies. Actually, we had our own agency. So we had a company called Insurance Marketing Services, and we were a master general agent for the Blue Cross Blue Shield organization in the state of Indiana. And then we ended up selling that in 1995 to them, to the Blue Cross organization in Indiana. And recognized after a short time that my dad and I really weren't big company people. We really liked doing our own thing. So after our earnout was done, we started another consulting business, and then kind of progressed from there. But yeah, I was basically in the insurance industry for a long, long time. It was good to us. It was good to our family. I did enjoy it, and yeah.
And this is health insurance?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, my first step into the insurance industry, I was selling life insurance. Here I was, a 21-year-old kid with my insurance license, going out at night to sell, 35-year-old, 40-year-old, 45-year-old people life insurance, and so like I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And I just remember my very first year in the business, I won this trip to Hawaii, and I was like, I'm going to Hawaii. I love this business. And so anyway, so that kind of got me hooked. And but I had a great mentor. I mean, I had obviously my grandfather, and then I was a partner with my dad for almost 20 years before we sold the business. So.
Wow, that's so cool. So so then you guys start a consulting company. What did you start? What
Yeah.
did you guys do?
Yeah, it was really we leveraged our relationships with insurance brokers in the state of Indiana. So we were actually working with a multiple employer welfare arrangement. It was an industry trust. So the construction industry put a trust together for like electricians and plumbers and those kinds of things. And then they came together and created their own health insurance plan. So we helped them to connect to brokers. We were kind of the marketing function. We connected them to brokers. We connected them to provider networks, and even some specialty networks, some cardiovascular networks. So it was a kind of a cool little program while it lasted.
Okay, so how transition me into the leadership world. When did that happen?
Yeah, so I tell people that I had this midlife awakening. So back in 2008, 2009, basically I helped start this company that was helping companies to mitigate the rising cost of health insurance. It was kind of a technology company, and we had a technology, really a proprietary technology, and also some proprietary intellectual property to be able to marry an employer's benefit plan to how the employees contributed. And so we were able to put those two things together. And so it was like a right time, right place kind of a company. We grew really, really fast. And then fast forward into, let's see, I think it was 2014. I had just turned 50, so I'm 58 right now. I had just
What?
turned 50. Yeah, yeah. I'm
If you
closer
guys
to
are listening, go to YouTube and check out this episode. You're not gonna believe it. 58. I thought you were like, I'm not even gonna say what I thought you were. Definitely not 58.
Yeah, man.
Good job.
I good genes. I got to credit my grandpa and my dad, but I also work out really, really hard. So
Yeah, but that's
uh,
not, you're not working out your face.
that's true. That is true.
You have a young
I don't know
looking
if I could
face,
do
so
that.
good job.
That's funny. Not working out your face. Oh man, that's good. I forget what the question was.
How did you
Uh,
transition into leadership?
oh yeah, yeah. So I had turned 50. That was where I was going with it. So I had turned 50, and it was kind of like this pivotal moment, really, for me. And during, from 2008 till 2014, I mean, I was running hard. I mean, we were a startup company. We were ramping up. We were really successful. In 2014, we brought in private equity to help us to kind of get to the next level of growth. We were, roughly the 20 million, 25 million revenue mark, and we wanted to get, to the next level. But at that time, I was flying around the country. I was doing a lot of travel, and my kids were getting at that point too, where they were really, they were into a lot of things, and I was missing some things, being away from home a lot. And it just got me thinking about the transition between chasing success and chasing significance. And So when we brought private equity in 2014, I actually sold half of my shares to them in the transactions so that I could quite literally just kind of set my kids up for, the college age years, not really thinking at that time that I was going to start my own business. However, through the course of that year, I joined the John Maxwell team in 2014. And through the course of that year, there was just kind of something that was kind of working on me, that I recognized that everything that I had, learned in my life, and everything that had brought me success was really a revolving around leadership and growth, and being able to really get comfortable being uncomfortable. And so that very next year, I had a sit down conversation with our CEO, and basically told him, kind of what I was thinking. And, I mean, to this day, we're great friends. Text him on his birthday, text him on, Christmas and all the holidays. And we basically, he set me up so that they were my first customer when I started my company. I recognized that there was something more for me that I wanted to do with leaders, and especially emerging leaders, because I recognize that there is, especially right now, there's this transition happening. The baby boomers are retiring, or they're wanting to retire at least. And a lot of them aren't really confident that their next level leaders are ready to be handed off to. And so I just had this real passion for those emerging leaders and growing leaders and helping them. But it all started with really this desire to transition my focus from really just chasing, success and dollars, to really investing in people and helping people to grow. Because at the end of the day, I recognize that when a company's people are growing, the company is going to grow as well.
Oh man, that's so, so true. And so many companies just focus on products and, training them on their processes and making sure they understand the company culture, and not enough time spent on really training them in personal development and personal growth. And that really is what moves the needle, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think it's interesting? You said baby boomers are retiring and they're not confident enough that they can hand over the reins.
Yeah.
Did they mess that up? Like, shouldn't they have kind of?
Yeah. Yes. And I would say yes. And I don't know that they know, like, they grew up in an era that is really different than the business world that we live in today. And that's really a lot of where the disconnect is. I recently saw a study that shows that there's really literally 5 generations in the workforce today. No other time in history has that ever happened.
Wow.
And so you've got baby boomers, and they're interacting with people that are just coming out of college, that all they've ever known is technology. I mean, they grew up with one of these things in their hand. The baby boomers still remember the day when they had to pull the phone out from the wall with a little curly thing and actually dial it with a dialer.
God forbid your finger got into the 9 and not the 8. You had to hang up 3 times. You had to do it all over.
Oh. Start all over again. Exactly.
Alexi's going to kill me. I just hit the table. Alexi, I'm sorry. You don't have to edit this out.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, I remember those days. So what years are baby boomers?
Yeah, I don't remember the start, but I just know that I'm kind of at the tail end of them. I think the end is like 1964, 63, something like that.
Wow. So you got the 60s, 70s, 80s right here, yep. 90s.
2000s.
2000s. My
goodness. If you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're
recording this.
2000. Yeah. If you're born in 2000, you're coming out of college roughly, or you're getting into the workforce without college.
Right. Exactly.
I did not think of that.
Yeah. So it's a big issue, because there's been I mean, if you think about it, like my grandfather died not super long ago. And at the time, I mean, God love him, man. He was trading, he was selling things on eBay. Like, here's this, 89, 90-year-old guy who has this huge violin collection, and he's selling, one of his prized violins to somebody in Berlin on eBay. I mean, so cool. But if you think about a guy like that, who, is 90 years old, and he grew up in literally in the horse and buggy era, and here he is now. He's talking to someone on a computer, a device, from he's talking to somebody clear around the other side of the world, and then sending his, violin over there. It's mind-boggling the amount of change that's happened. And so I think what the issue is there's a lot of us. I mean, this, we're all programmed, right? We're programmed with the era that we've grown up in. And I recognize too that how I've been programmed, I've had to reprogram myself, because look, that era it doesn't work anymore. It's gone. The industrial age, even the computer age is done. We're in the AI and the knowledge industry now. We have knowledge workers that can work anywhere on the planet, and we have to recognize that as leaders. And so part of me says it's not their fault, but then part of me says, if you're really paying attention, you've got to reprogram yourself, and you've got to be able to look at the situation and adapt, because those who don't adapt are going to die.
Those who don't adapt are going to die. Yeah, that is, wow. That's true. Okay. So, but leadership principles, like, I mean, I'm a big fan of John Maxwell stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And most people don't really know where John gets his stuff. I mean, we know where he gets his stuff, and it's really from the ancient biblical texts, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you want to learn leadership, read the Bible. John just kind of translated it to us today.
Leadership. Yeah, for sure.
So leadership principles really haven't changed. It's not like since your grandfather began work until today, there's different leadership principles, right?
Right.
So where is the disconnect? Just how they're communicated, or how they're, like, what's the disconnect?
Well, I think the disconnect, here's my view. I think the disconnect is just the era that they grew up in was more of a command and control environment. I mean, you experienced this in the Marine Corps, right? It's do this because I said so. Do this because this is our objective. And I think in today's world, that doesn't work. There's the individuals who are in the workforce today, they're thinkers, and they want to be challenged with their thinking. So we have to adapt. Though, the principles are still valid. We just have to adapt how we're applying them. And so rather than saying, do this because I said so, kind of like a parent, we have to be able to ask better questions and be a coach, and help people discover things on their own. They may come to the same conclusion that we wanted them to, but I think the disconnect really is a change from that command and control type of and style of management and leadership to a really empowered leadership style.
That is a really good point. I can't even tell my kids do this because I said so. Like, I don't know if it's my own internal, like, leadership knowledge that knows that that's not a good way, or
not a good way.
Yeah, but they fight back. They're like, why? Well, tell me why I need to do that. Why do I have to do that? Why can't they do this?
Yes, right. Totally
Yeah.
understand.
So I can't even tell them that. So what are some of the things that you teach to help that generation, the older generation, understand how to communicate with the newer generation better?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I think it boils down to some real, I think they're simple, and sometimes I feel like they're common sense, except they're not too common anymore. But it's just behaviors. It's just leadership behaviors. And I do a lot of work with companies in their culture. And so I like to talk about cultural behaviors, not just of mission and vision and value statement. Those are all great, but when it comes to actually how we do things around here, that's really our culture. And so I like to talk about behaviors. And so the things that I teach are things that I pull from the cultural behaviors, like listening generously. And any leader today has to be one who listens generously, and that means really kind of clearing out all of the distractions. Let's put our phones on do not disturb, so that we're not distracted, and that we give our full attention to the person that's in front of us. And so that listening generously then leads to, or should lead to, the behavior that we term speaking straight. And speaking straight simply means just being able to give an honest communication, a communication to someone that moves the situation forward. And I always kind of like to talk about that pit in your stomach kind of a feeling. It's when you have that pit in your stomach and you know you have to have this conversation. That's a speak straight conversation, because it's uncomfortable, but yet we need to have it so that we can move forward and we can actually make some progress with whatever the situation is.
Give me an example of one of those.
Yeah. So let's say you're my boss, and I
like
see that
that.
you're, yeah, you like that already,
I'm your
don't
boss.
you? Yeah, you're my boss. So I come to you and I say, hey, Eric, I need to have a speak straight conversation with you, man. I'm really nervous, and I don't even know how to say this. So if the words come out a little bit wrong, just kind of give me some grace here. But every time that you come to me and tell me how to do something, it makes me feel really uncomfortable, because it makes me feel like I don't understand my business or my work, and I would rather you approach it a different way. And here's how I would approach it. So anyway, that's the kind of conversation that I typically will see. Or at least it's one example of a speak straight conversation. It's, hey, I got to talk to my boss about something, and it's going to make me uncomfortable because it's my boss. I mean, let's face it. We've got this hierarchy thing in work in our workplaces, and so having those kinds of conversations are really tough.
Yeah, they are. And if you're in a leadership role, the more personal development and personal growth, like courses you take and seminars you attend, one of the questions you'll ask, and it was so profound to me, because I remember when I was leading a team in a copier industry, I like when people are very direct and to the point. Don't beat around the bush with me. Just tell me what you want done. Tell me where I messed it up, and let me go fix it. And don't tell me how you want me to do it.
Sure.
And so if you've ever taken a DISC assessment, you'd understand that I'm a high I, high D.
Yeah.
And that's how I like to be communicated with.
Mm-hmm.
However, not everybody's like that.
That's right. Oh, that we wish they were.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so I remember I had somebody on my team, and I realized now she was a high C, high S, complete opposite.
Yeah, man.
And when I told her, hey, here's what needs to get done, go do it, she doesn't process it that way. She gets lost. She gets offended that I didn't take the time to explain how it should be done, didn't give her enough detail, enough information. And you could tell that, like, even though she was being polite and nice, you could tell that something was missing. Now I couldn't tell this at first.
Right.
It took a while for me to figure it out. And then something struck me, and I asked her a question. I said, how would you like for me to kind of delegate or communicate with you or give you feedback?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she had a list. She pulls out this like
of course,
the scroll.
Yeah, right, exactly. Of course she had a list.
Well, remember when you said this, I cried half the night, because I thought this is what that meant. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know. Oh my gosh. And it's so, like, we just don't know. Communication goes both ways, right? Like,
it does. Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
can tell somebody something, you meant it one way, and they just did not receive it the way you meant it.
Yep, exactly. Well, and I think that's the disconnect, especially between generations. Even, we don't understand that, I may be a high D and I need to have things, just bullet points, just give me the high level. And a C or an S, they need to, process things, and they need some more detail. And let's face it, the I's and the D's of the world, they're a little bit more faster paced, right? They want to, kind of get things moving. And those C's and S's, they like to kind of keep things slower. And that can be really frustrating. Really frustrating.
For both ends, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. It totally can, because for C's and S's, like, it's frustrating that you're moving so fast. You might make a wrong decision. The S is really afraid of change, right? And if you don't know that and you're continually changing, you're putting your people in a way uncomfortable situation. And by the way, there are probably more S's in this world than anybody else.
Right.
The C's, they're perfectionists. So when you move fast, they're afraid that you're going to make the wrong decision. And their biggest fear is being criticized. So they don't, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, right.
The I's and D's, we just want to get a result that we can fix. Like, we don't
Yeah.
care. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
we don't care if we get it right or not. We just want to move it forward so that we can fix whatever it is that we messed up.
Get it fixed and go on. Exactly.
And go on. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like you deal with all these personalities and it's crazy. Okay. So what type of trainings and coaching do you offer to organizations? I know you have a couple different levels for different leaders, but if you could give us a little bit of an insight.
Yeah. So one of the things that I discovered as I started my business, and really as the business has evolved, is that there's two parts of my business. One is company culture, and usually I'm working with the senior leader or the senior leadership team. And what I discovered in working with those leaders is that, and this is kind of goes back to, where I really feel like there's a disconnect in the handoff, is that the senior leaders don't know how to help the next level leaders learn and grow in a real systematic way. So what I did then is I put together an environment that we can help leaders grow, and I call it the Emerging Leader Inner Circle. Basically, it's a combination between a mastermind, some training, and group coaching. So we do a little bit of all of that in there, and it's been really fun to be able to, and really rewarding to be able to help those emerging leaders, those people who may be first-time people leaders, or maybe they're just high potentials that an organization sees some real potential in. See them grow, and be able to move then into our advancing leader inner circle. And that's really run more like a mastermind for those people leaders who have been around a little bit. Maybe they've been part of the emerging leader group, maybe not, but they just want to be able to be around other leaders from other companies and be able to grow in a mastermind environment. So and then, the last inner circle group that we have is really for those senior leaders, those high achievers, those CEOs and business owners. And so that's our elite inner circle. So those group environments are really conducive to growth and really help not only the leaders grow, but also, it ultimately results in the company growing as well.
David, help me understand something, okay? Because I think there's a belief that leadership is not a position.
Yeah, right.
Leadership isn't positional. But how can somebody lead who's not in a leadership role?
Yeah. I love that question, because leadership truly is not a role or a hierarchy, a box on a hierarchy chart. I think any leader is going to have influence over a lot of different directions. And, John Maxwell calls it the 360-degree leader, right? So we're going to either lead our peers, we're going to lead the people who report to us, or we're going to lead up and we're going to lead, those people who are above us on the organizational chart.
How do you do that? Can we, because we get the peers, I get the people who report to us.
Yeah. Well, it starts with me, right? The transformation starts with me. I have to be able to lead myself well. And so I have to be able to invest in me, and I have to be able to do the things that leaders do. And that is read and create disciplines that I do every day, set my goals and achieve my goals. So I think it boils down to, our individual leadership of ourselves.
But how do you define leadership? Let's start there.
Yeah. I do take a page out of John Maxwell's book, because it's influence. It really is influence to help move something forward, move in a direction towards a goal or a mission. So it's really influence at the end of the day. That's how I define it.
Move something forward towards a goal or a mission. And therefore, even if you're not at the top of the company, you have the ability, even if you're an intern, exactly, you have the ability to influence change towards a more beneficial position in a company.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of people are afraid of that. And so, you hear so many leaders talk about open door policies.
Mm.
What do you see? How do you see the best leaders kind of, what are they doing to bring the most out of their people in order to welcome ideas for change?
Well, I think the best leaders do those two things that I actually just talked about in terms of listening generously
Mm,
and speaking straight. And not only that, but they get real clear on expectations as well. They get clear and they set clear expectations because if we don't have clear expectations, we can't hit what we don't know. So asking good questions is a part of that process as well. So I think the great leaders ask a lot of questions and are able to listen really, really generously.
that is really cool. I actually had a meeting this week, and I'm going to be going in to do like a retreat, facilitate like a retreat for a bunch of leaders. And I met with the guy, and,
Cool.
and I said, "So, help me understand. What are you picturing for this retreat?" And he said, "Well, actually, I typed up some questions here that I was going to ask people, but if you're going to facilitate, it's great. First one, what is our company culture like? How are we
Uh,
keeping our employees accountable? How are we doing with listening to our employees? How
yeah.
are we investing in our employees? How would your staff describe you? How would your staff describe?" Oh my God, I thought these were like
Yeah.
the best questions you could possibly ask. I'm like,
Awesome.
man, this is great. So I pulled out
Absolutely.
that leadership game behind me, and we're
I
gonna play
love it.
that with those guys. That's perfect, I
That's
think. Fit.
perfect. Yeah, I love that. The leadership game is amazing. I've used that on a number of occasions, and my goodness, it's amazing what can come out of those discussions.
Yeah, I stacked the deck too. So when the first
Of
card,
course,
yeah, no, it's
of
great.
course you do.
My favorite is write what you appreciate about everybody else.
Me too. The
That's
sticky
my
note.
first.
I call
Yeah,
it my sticky note exercise. Yeah.
I bring tissues, man. I bring
Oh
tissues
yeah.
because people, yeah, they cry, all that stuff. No, it's great. It is
That's
great.
good.
Okay, so somebody is, well, help. Let me ask you this before we move on. Why is leadership important? Why should anybody care about even being a leader?
Yeah. Well, I think people should care because if we if the company doesn't grow, if we don't grow, I mean, what are we here for, really? I mean, at the end of the day, as humans, we want to be more, do more, have more. And so, in order to do that, we've got to influence. We've got to influence a, we have to influence people so that we can advance towards our cause and towards our mission. And so, if if we're not leaders and if we don't grow our leadership, we're not going to advance. We're not going to advance against, towards our mission and towards our cause. So I think that's why it's really super important. And you know there are people who have been in certain roles and maybe even in certain industries who don't realize that, and but when they're exposed to it, when they understand that they have influence. I mean, even if they are, packing boxes in a manufacturing plant, they have an influence over the other people who are packing boxes in the manufacturing plant. And so they can affect change by being a good leader. And so leadership is not just a white collar type of a theory or something that white collar workers need to worry about. I think leadership is needed throughout every organization, and so that's why I think it's so important. We're not going to get to where we want to go without leadership.
Yeah, I think good leaders have a certain energy about them. They move just a little bit faster.
Yeah.
They're a little more compassionate in the down times. They listen a little bit better. Um, and leadership, I think, yeah, it's influence and it's love and it's really being there to help somebody else grow to that next level. And when you said packing boxes, I'm thinking you can come to pack a box. Let's say you're working in an Amazon warehouse or any warehouse, and you're literally packing boxes,
Yeah,
and you
right.
can talk about how shitty that is.
Yep.
I freaking hate my life. Everything sucks. I had to come here. I sat in traffic. Now I'm packing boxes for $15 an hour or $10 an hour. You can come in packing the same boxes.
Yeah.
I love my life. I get to pack boxes and help people get whatever they ordered so they can be happy. And I know that even though this is where I am right now, this is just for me to learn how to deal with the a-hole next to me who's complaining 24/7
Right.
so that I can
Right.
be a better leader, right? Like we can do it
Exactly.
different ways. Just take the
Exactly.
positive approach.
Absolutely. Well, that energy is transferable. I mean, so if
Mm.
you're that person that comes in and you're the Eeyore and you're bringing the rest of the organization down, I mean, that's influence. You can influence both positively and negatively.
Yes, you can.
So,
That is so good. I'm curious, like the C-suite leaders, and when I say this, I'm talking about the older generation. I know there's some young
yeah.
guys in there who get it. The
Mhm.
older ones, what is it that you find, if there is something in common or something most often that they have to unlearn about leadership so that they can be better leaders? What are the ideas they're holding on to that you see them letting go first?
Yeah, that's a great question, Eric. The first thing that comes to my mind is the mentality of the command and control. That the idea that just because I'm the CEO or I'm the CFO, that everybody needs to like listen to me. Because I think it's interesting too, because I've got a friend of mine, and I call him a friend now. He was a client, and he's retired, and he was the president of an organization, and he didn't realize that leadership was a thing until later in his career. And so it's really understanding, I think, understanding leadership and understanding that by exhibiting good leadership, you can help your organization go much farther than just a command and control style of management. And so I think that's probably the first thing, is just understanding that it's not all about me, and I don't have to carry the load. Because I think the older generation especially has an idea of this leader is the one that has to have all the answers. I'm going to charge the hill, and if you're coming, come with me, but I'm heading up this way. And I think that's probably something that has to be unlearned. That we need to, if we're going to do something significant, we're gonna need the entire team. We're gonna need the strengths of the entire team. And so let's let go of that solo mentality and take the team with us.
Yeah, no, it's so good, David. All right. So whether leadership came naturally to you or not, you had to kind of, I mean, 5 kids.
That's where I say I cut my leadership teeth when I became a parent.
All right, well, we're gonna judge a tree by the fruit it bears. So tell us, what what are your kids doing these days? How many of them
Yeah,
are
good.
locked up?
None of them are locked up, thankfully.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's already a plus. Because I
Yeah.
have a
Hey,
50-50 shot. I got 2 boys. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure one of them is gonna end up in prison somewhere. I'm
Knowing you,
kidding. I'm
I don't
kidding.
think so. I don't think so.
No, they're not. So what are
Yeah.
your kids
Well,
doing nowadays?
so I do have one who is a former. I shouldn't. I don't even use that word. It's
No,
a out of service Marine. He's not a Marine anymore. He's not a active duty Marine
prior
anymore.
service. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Prior
He's a
service. Yeah,
Marine.
yeah. So so I did okay, well, at least with one of the five.
That's
Uh,
debatable. I mean,
yeah.
especially with the
Well,
Marine. I mean, there's so
yeah.
many other. Yeah, I get it. And as a
Yeah.
Marine, I'm just talking smack about.
Other Marines,
If
right?
you talk to an Army guy, they'll tell you we eat crayons. So
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I've had my Army buddies bring me a box of crayons for like birthdays as a gift and said bon
Oh my
appetit.
gosh. Oh, that's
So that's
funny.
fun. All right. So one
That's
one
good.
joined the military, served our country. So
Yeah.
you've helped him with perseverance and loyalty and courage and probably handsome good looks because Marines are the best looking ones out there.
Of
Um,
course, of course.
what are the other 4 doing?
Yeah, so I've got one surgical tech. So she assists physicians and surgeons in the OR. The other one is she's actually a nanny, and I have a professional musician, and my youngest is actually in the construction trade right now. So he's helping learn how to build and finish out houses. So
Which one's your favorite? No,
I don't have
I'm
favorites.
kidding.
I don't have favorites. They're all my favorites.
That's a very politically correct thing to say.
Well, the cool thing is that they're all so different and unique, and that's what I love about being a dad is that I get to experience all of this wide range of personalities that came from my wife and I. So pretty cool.
Very awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks,
I
man.
was very upset because you had an event earlier in the year. You guys did Turning Point,
Yeah,
and everybody I absolutely love was there. And
yeah,
you were leading it was your event.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I couldn't make it because I had kids with soccer tournaments that weekend. I'm like, God, I
Sure.
really wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about Turning Point and why did you put it on? What happened there? Why did people go
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, Turning Point is such an amazing event. I mean, it was birthed by our mentor Paul Martinelli. It really has been his event. And last summer, I had this idea flash in my mind that I wanted to be able to lead a Turning Point with Paul. And at the time, I was like, "That's a crazy idea. Where did that come from?" Seriously, like I'm like, right, me on stage with Paul? Yeah. Well, the long story short is that one of my buddies, who Andy Hall, basically said, "Hey, you don't know until you ask him. So why don't you call him up and ask him?" And so I set up a meeting with him and talked to him about it, and he said yes. And then I was like, "Oh crap! Now what am I going to do?" So, but the event is such an impactful event that, I mean, we even have it scheduled again for 2023. So we've already got the venue booked. It's going to be March 30th through, I think it's April 2nd, 2023. And the event itself is truly a turning point for people. It's a time for people to kind of get away and really invest in themselves and kind of peel the layers back on their own personal growth and understand themselves maybe at a level that's deeper than they've ever learned before. And they learn how to get outside of their comfort zone. They learn how to navigate that discomfort and then grow from that and really understand their own identity and then project who they want to become and be able to find a process to be able to do that. So Turning Point for me was so amazing. It was an amazing growth journey for myself as well, because one of the components that I taught was the Henry David Thoreau quote, "If one advances in the direction of their dream." That whole quote was so transformational for me because I was actually living it as I was going through the process. I was advancing, in the direction of my dream, and I endeavored to live the life that I had imagined. And so every step of the way, I mean, I didn't know all of the steps, but I just knew the next step. And then I took the next step and then the next step. And, without Andy Hall helping me to kind of keep me sane and, not really get too out of control when I signed the contract with the hotel, uh, I probably wouldn't have made it, but it was great to be able to have a coach and have somebody to help me, move me in the right direction. So
I got to get Andy on this podcast. He still hasn't
he
figured
is
out that
awesome.
America is a way better country to move to from
Oh,
the UK where he's at, and we got to get him
he
over
knows it. He
here. He knows
knows it. Yeah,
it.
he wants to be here. Well, trust me, he wants to be here, but he would be a great guest. You need to have him on.
Oh, I definitely will. I'll reach out to him today, actually. He's been on my mind, so I definitely want to do
Yeah,
that. And he's such a good guy.
he is.
How many
Yeah.
people showed up to Turning Point?
I think we had like 60 people. Yeah. So it was a great turnout, a great, great
Amazing.
crowd.
Dude,
Yeah.
you know what's amazing? Like a bunch of people that are listening are entrepreneurs, and I see you doing videos on TikTok right now, and I see you kind of
Yeah.
promoting yourself, and that's great. And I was talking to an entrepreneur, also a business coach and consultant, just a couple of days ago this week. And we had this conversation. She's like, nothing's working on TikTok. Nothing's working. I'm doing
Mhm.
these lives. And like this one only got 50 views, and this one got 35 views, and that one's got 60 views. I said, listen, if you had an event and 50 people showed up to see you talk, would that have been good? Her eyes kind of lit up. She's like, oh my God, that would have been amazing. I'm like, 50 people just showed up to
Exactly.
see you on video. It's not
Right.
like
Yeah.
you're only talking to, when you're on social, you're talking to one person at a time. Even if it's hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands out there,
Yeah.
one at a time. That's all it
Yeah.
is. And it was
Exactly.
so kind of cool. So when you're like, I had 60 people, this is amazing. And then somebody's
Yeah.
like, only 60 people saw my live feed. It sucked.
Yeah. Right. Two
No,
different
no,
things.
no, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it just goes to show you how we need to reframe how we're thinking about things, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And huge kudos to you for making that call to Paul, because, you know, being a part of the John Maxwell team, he's the guy that started the John Maxwell team.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, he made the call to John Maxwell and pitched the idea.
Yeah.
You made the call to Paul and pitched the idea. I mean, you viewed Paul like up on, like he's been
Right.
mentoring you for years. He's been, I know,
Right.
I know what it feels like to view Paul, like how we view Paul. He's just an
Yeah.
amazing and incredible mentor. But I was
Yeah, he
listening
is.
to Tim Grover, and he was on a podcast with Ed Milet, I believe.
Mm.
And this guy, immigrant, his father came here from India when he was a little boy in Chicago. I don't know if they moved to Chicago or whatever, or if that's where they started out. But he decided after school he's going to become a personal trainer. Now here's the immigrant from India, was not born here. He's in Chicago, personal trainer. And he sees it on the news that Chicago Bulls are talking about some of the things they need, like because one team had their number back then, and they mentioned, we're going to have to get in the gym. We're going to have, you know, Michael Jordan's going to need to some strength training and this and that. That's our plan. This guy at 19 years old picked up the phone and called the Chicago Bulls organization.
Nice.
He said they interviewed him for 6 months before they let him meet Jordan. He went on to be Jordan's professional coach, personal coach for over 18 years. Then I think it was Kobe Bryant. He was Kobe Bryant's coach. Like, he's the guy. If you look up Tim Grover right now, he's the guy. Like, he's
I think I remember this interview. Now that you're sharing this part, I think I remember this. Yeah.
It's incredible. And it just gave me, it's so funny because even me, I teach people how to sell. Like I have a book on sales.
Right.
And I found myself driving by a organization that has restaurants all across the country. Their headquarters is here.
Hmm.
And I always keep saying, oh, I want to call them. I want to call them. But I just don't pick up the phone and call them, you know?
Right.
And I wonder if it's because the belief that, like, oh, why would they're probably dealing with huge organizations. They're not going to, like, all these limiting beliefs that are going on here and just making me pump my brake, that I know that when I heard that interview a few days ago, I'm like, oh, I just got to call them.
Right.
Just now you said, I called Paul, thinking about Paul calling John. It all starts with somebody just making a call.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and the thing is, I think we make up these things in our mind. You know, we make stuff up, right? It's the classic MSU, making stuff up.
I'm so good at
stuff
it.
up. Oh, me too, man. But you know, the one time I didn't make stuff up is, you know, and I just made the call. You know, great things happen when you do, you know, and I will tell you, kind of going back to Turning Point for just a second, one of the most impactful times is the Saturday evening. So it's a 3-day event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And on Saturday in the evening time, we have a debrief from the day. And you know, here Andy and I are, you know, hanging microphones in front of people's mouths and them talking about the things that they experienced in that day, because there's a component of, you know, an outside component. And man, I was not prepared for the things that people were going to say and the transformation that happened and the impact that day made. Like, I was fighting back tears because I never imagined. The thing that I did imagine was me being on stage with Paul. That's great. And sadly, it's it's selfish. But when I started hearing the stories of people's transformation and the impact that it was making, and people who had brought their daughters, and sons, and man, that was powerful. And like that would have never happened. That space and time would not have happened. That impact wouldn't have happened had I not picked up the phone and made the call. And so, I guess I'm talking to your listeners here. Look, there may be something that you need to do. Just go do it. Don't make stuff up about what could or couldn't happen. If you have that feeling and you need to do it, just go do it. Trust me. Just
Go
do
find
it.
out for yourself.
Yeah,
And that's so
exactly.
good. I did that. I just signed up. So right now, as we're recording this, it's August 11th. September 24th, my older son, Max, and I are flying to California, and we're doing the Squire program. The Squire program is ran by a Navy SEAL, Ray Cash Care, who I had the pleasure of sharing the stage with, and just fell in love with this guy when I was in Texas. He works for a guy whose name is Bedros Keuilian, who's just an amazing, just a crazy story. Armenian immigrant, fled. His parents fled from Russia. His dad had to bribe some people to get out of former Russia, move to
Wow.
California because they didn't have enough money. His dad figured out that grocery stores throw out expired food, even if it's not expired. And this guy, Bedros, at 6 years old, would dumpster dive like it was an
Wow.
adventure to find food for their family. Now I don't know if he's a billionaire. I think he is, but he franchised one of the biggest, fitness boot camps out there, 700, 600 plus locations.
Wow.
And he runs this Squire program. And so it's literally like, if you go to Squire program and check out what it is, it's like a Navy SEAL boot camp for
Man,
father and son
that's
all
cool.
day. Like, we're going to be in an ice bath. We're going to be running up hills and
Nice.
climbing and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff, just pushing our body to a complete different limit
Nice.
together.
Yeah.
Do I want to do it? No. Like, physically, like, do I really want to? Does that excite me?
Yeah.
Hell no. Do I want to do it with my son? Do I want him and I to go through that together? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's going to be exciting. And I already made a commitment that when my younger one is 12, I think it's 12 to 16. So as soon as he hits 12, we're going to go do that with him
Go
again.
do it.
So I got to
Hey,
get it. I
man.
got to get your routine, man. By the way, what's your morning routine? Tell me about that?
Yeah, so my morning routine is so I'm up at 5. I'm probably not up as early as you, but I'm up at 5.
When you get to be
And
my
my
age, you just can't sleep that late, that
oh,
long.
I know.
Wake up.
I
It's
can't
like
wait till
menopause,
I can't I can't wait till I'm your age, man.
right?
I love it. Yeah, so I start off with just some silence and just kind of enjoy the morning and I drink a lot of water. So I usually have my water, but not usually. I always have my water bottle with me and sucking down some water the first thing. And start off with silence, and then I have some meditation time, and then I do some prayer and Bible time. So I get into the Word, and then I will also do journaling. So I have a journaling practice that I know you're a big journaler as well. And I've been journaling for a number of years now. And man, I tell you what, it really helps me to set my day up and really kind of like untangle the thoughts that are, in my head. And then after I'm done journaling, I take some time to read. I'm an avid reader. Like I just love reading and I love learning and growing. And so I have some reading time. And so when that's done, then I get up and get on with my day. So
So the rest of the day is just in the gym working out.
yeah, right. Yeah, then my full-time job, I get paid to work out. I
Yeah.
wish.
All right. So I
Uh,
always try to find out different techniques for journaling. And everybody I ask, they have
yeah,
something different that they do for
yeah.
journaling. How do you journal?
Sure.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I have a blank, moleskin book, and date at the top, and then it's really kind of free flow, like consciousness. What do I got to work? What am I working on today? What's my vision for the future sometimes? So it kind of depends on where my mind is at the time, but it's pretty free flow. And then I always end with gratitude. So I'm, throwing my, what I'm grateful for and the things. And it's interesting too, because there are so many things to be grateful for, and kind of like reframing, like we were talking about, like, look, whatever you're doing, there's something you can be grateful for. I mean, you can be grateful, that you actually have a hand to write, and you have eyes that can see the sunrise. You have, just all those. I love finishing with gratitude, because then it really sets me up for, I think it sets me up for success. But that journaling of gratitude, key, man. It's key.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Is there anything I should have asked you that I have not asked you, or that you wanted to talk about?
Gosh, yeah, no, I can't think of anything. Yeah, no, this has been great. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me on too. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, David. Your energy is just awesome. Like you're magnetic. Like we got a chance to spend some time together in Florida earlier this year at Paul's event, and you just people gravitate towards you. You're so welcoming, so nice, so kind, so good looking. If I didn't,
brother. Yeah, stop.
I might have a man crush on you. I'm sure you're gonna send this to your wife and say, "Hey, you got to listen to this great, amazing interview." Just skip to the end.
You just skip to the end, exactly, and see how great your husband is. Yeah, right. I love it.
All right, my friend. Look, I can't wait to see what you have in store for the future and the lives that you're going to impact and the people you're going to help. I'm watching you from the sidelines, and anything you ever need, I'm here for you.
Well, I admire you greatly. I've seen you. I think you too also have that magnetic quality as well. And so, I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for all of the lives that you're touching as well. I know that you're helping a lot of people become better salespeople and just better human beings. So, thanks for all that you do, my friend.
Thank you, David. Thanks for being here, man. Bye.